Two powerful men walked into a room full of players. One was the new boss of the PGA Tour. The other was the most famous face in golf. What happened next changed everything. This wasn't a public meeting. No cameras, no press. Just players and the two most powerful people in the sport sitting across from each other. And according to everyone inside that room, something was said that nobody expected. One of those men was Brian Rolapp. He came from the NFL. He had a plan for the future of professional golf. The other was Rory McIlroy, four-time major winner, the guy who usually stays quiet about tour politics. Until that day, because what Rory did in that private room wasn't just criticism, it was an exposure. He called out the new CEO in front of other players. He said things that made people uncomfortable, and he didn't stop there. Now here's the thing. Rory wasn't supposed to be the one pushing back. He was supposed to be the bridge between players and the new leadership. He even praised Rolapp when they first met. So what changed? What made the most respected player in golf turn against the most powerful man in golf? That's what we're going to break down today. Every detail, every quote, and why this single conversation might change the entire future of the PGA Tour. But that first meeting was only the beginning. What happened next made everyone forget those early handshakes. Were you surprised when Rory spoke out? Tell me in the comments. To understand what happened in that room, you first need to know who was sitting on the other side of the table. Brian Rolapp didn't come from golf. He came from the NFL. 22 years in American football. He helped negotiate billion-dollar TV deals. He built streaming platforms. He knew how to make sports profitable, but he knew nothing about the traditions of golf. And that was supposed to be a good thing. When Rolapp got the job as PGA Tour CEO in June 2025, players were curious. An outsider, someone who wouldn't bring old baggage, someone who could see the sport with fresh eyes. Rory McIlroy was one of the first to meet him. That first meeting lasted 90 minutes, just the two of them. No advisors, no cameras. And after it ended, Rory gave a surprising answer when reporters asked what he thought. "I like him," Rory said. "I really like him." Those words mattered. Rory is the most influential player in golf. When he speaks, others listen. His approval gave Rolapp instant credibility. Players started believing maybe this NFL guy actually understood them. Jordan Spieth was another player who met with Rolapp early on. He also came away impressed. Spieth said Rolapp was open, honest, and willing to listen. The early reviews were glowing. Even Tiger Woods, who rarely comments on tour politics, reportedly had a positive conversation with the new CEO. But something happened between those early meetings and the private player talks. Something shifted. Rory's tone changed. His patience wore thin. And the man who once praised the new CEO started aiming arrows directly at him. The man from the NFL had a plan, and Rory McIlroy was about to become its loudest critic. So what exactly did Rolapp bring to the table that made everyone nervous? A new structure, a complete reimagining of how the PGA Tour works. By 2028, Rolapp wanted to split the tour into two separate tiers. The top tier would be the Championship Series. Think of it as the VIP section. Only the best events. Only the best players. The majors. The Players' Championship. The biggest signature tournaments. Around 20 to 24 events total. This is where the money lives. This is where glory lives. Below that, the Challenger Series. The second tier. Smaller events. Smaller fields. Smaller purses. Basically everything that doesn't make the cut for the top tier. Events like the Canadian Open. Events that have been around for decades. Events fans love. And here's the part that really got under players' skin. Rolapp wanted a promotion and relegation system. If you're in the top tier and you don't perform well enough, you drop down. If you're in the lower tier and you play your way up, you earn your spot in the big leagues, similar to how European soccer works. Now, for some players, this sounds like a dream. For others, it sounds like a nightmare. If you're Scotty Scheffler or Xander Schauffele, you're probably safe. You'll always be in the top tier. But what if you're a rookie trying to find your footing? What if you're a veteran whose game is slipping? In one single plan, Rolapp created two different tours living under one roof, and he told players this wasn't just an idea, it was happening, whether they liked it or not. Rolapp defended his plan by calling it meritocracy. He said the best players should play in the best events. He said fans deserve to see the highest quality competition every single week. On paper, that sounds reasonable. Who wouldn't want to watch the best players compete against each other? But here's what Rolapp didn't say. This plan doesn't just separate events, it separates players. It creates a permanent class system inside the PGA Tour. Some players will always be in the top tier. Others will always be fighting to get out of the bottom. And once you're down there, it's incredibly difficult to climb back up. What Rolapp was proposing didn't just change the schedule. It changed who gets to play where. But here's the thing about Rory McIlroy. He wasn't always against this plan. When Rolapp first arrived, Rory was one of his biggest supporters. He didn't just tolerate the new CEO, he welcomed him. That 90-minute meeting between them wasn't a confrontation. It was a conversation. Two powerful men sitting down to figure out where golf was heading. And after that meeting, Rory told the world exactly how he felt. "I like him," he said. "I really like him." Those words carried weight. Rory is the face of the PGA Tour. When he speaks, players listen. His approval gave Rolapp something he desperately needed: trust. If Rory McIlroy trusts you, other players will at least give you a chance. But something changed. Slowly at first. Then all at once. By August and September of 2025, Rory started sending signals. He wasn't openly criticizing Rolapp yet. Not directly. But he started talking about player freedom. About players having the right to choose their own path. About not wanting to be locked into a system they didn't believe in. Reporters called them warning shots. Little hints that Rory's patience was running thin, that the honeymoon was over, that the man who once praised the new CEO was starting to have serious doubts. Then came the private player talks. And whatever happened in that room pushed Rory from doubt to full-blown confrontation. These weren't casual conversations. These were formal meetings where Rolapp presented his vision directly to the players. He explained the two-tier system. He explained the timeline. He explained why he believed it was necessary for the future of the sport. But the players had questions, tough questions, and nobody asked them more directly than Rory McIlroy. Rory had been patient, he had been polite, but patience has a limit, and he just reached his. Then came the moment nobody expected. Rory McIlroy walked up to a microphone and started talking. It was June 2026, the US Open, one of the biggest stages in golf. Reporters gathered around, expecting the usual questions about the course, about his game, about his chances. What they got was something completely different. Rory didn't hold back. He didn't use diplomatic language. He didn't try to soften the blow. He just spoke his mind. Track 2 is a glorified Korn Ferry event. Let that sink in. The Korn Ferry Tour is the development tour, the place where young players fight to earn their PGA Tour card. It's not the big leagues, it's the pathway to the big leagues. And Rory just compared Rolapp's entire second tier to a glorified version of that. But he didn't stop there. Rory specifically called out the Canadian Open, one of the oldest tournaments in golf. A tournament with history, with tradition, with fans who have supported it for decades. Rory said he didn't think the Canadian Open should be relegated to the second tier. He said it didn't belong there. And then he went even deeper. He talked about why this was all happening in the first place. LIV Golf, the Saudi-backed rival tour that forced the PGA Tour to change everything. Rory's words were brutal. He said LIV created a false economy. It forced the tour to raise purses, shrink fields, and change the entire structure of the season. But now that LIV looks like less of a threat, Rory said he thought the old ways of the PGA Tour weren't actually that bad. Think about what he just said. The entire reform plan, the two tiers, the promotion and relegation, the massive restructuring. Rory was basically saying none of it was necessary, that the tour panicked, that they changed everything for a threat that no longer existed. He also warned the tour to be careful about the future of the Scottish Open, another historic event, another tournament that could be pushed down or pushed out. Rory was listing them one by one: the Canadian Open, the Scottish Open, events that have been part of golf for generations. Rolapp had to respond, and he did. Just days later, in a public press conference, he said he had spoken with Rory directly. He said they talked a bit about it. He defended the two-tier system. He said it was about making the tour more competitive, more interesting. But Rory wasn't buying it, And the private player talks? That's where the real tension unfolded. Behind closed doors, no cameras, no reporters, just players and the two men at the center of this war. According to sources who were in those rooms, Rory didn't just ask questions. He challenged Rolapp directly. He pushed back on every major point. He made it clear that he believed the plan was unnecessary and potentially damaging to the sport he loves. Some players stayed quiet. Others nodded along. But Rory was the one who spoke up. The one who said what everyone else was thinking. That's why this story matters. That's why people are calling it an exposure. Those words weren't just criticism. They were a warning shot. But Rory didn't stop at words. He started using his schedule as a weapon. See? PGA Tour players have to play at least 15 events every season. It's a rule. It keeps the tour healthy. It ensures fans get to see the best players throughout the year. But Rory McIlroy is only playing 14 events this year. That's not a mistake. That's a message. By playing one fewer tournament than the minimum, Rory is putting his PGA Tour membership at risk. He could lose his card. He could lose his eligibility for the FedEx Cup playoffs. He could lose everything he's built over nearly 2 decades. And he knows it. When reporters asked him about it, Rory didn't hide. He didn't make excuses. He told them exactly what was happening. "I speak to Brian and his team a lot," he said. "We'll figure it out. I made them aware that this could happen at the end of last year. They know." Think about the power in those words. Rory didn't ask for permission. He didn't beg for an exception. He informed them. He told them this was coming. And now it's here. Why is he doing this? He gave a simple answer. "The benefits are seeing my family more, feeling like I have a bit more balance in my life." That sounds reasonable, but there's a deeper message here. Rory is saying his priorities have shifted. He's not willing to sacrifice his family for a tour that he feels is moving in the wrong direction. He also acknowledged the competitive cost. Does it mean it makes it harder for myself to win the FedEx Cup? Absolutely. But I'm okay with that. Let that sink in. Rory McIlroy is willing to risk his chances at winning the FedEx Cup, one of the biggest prizes in golf. He's willing to put that on the line because he believes the tour is heading in the wrong direction. Now here's the wild part. The PGA Tour has a rule called extenuating circumstances. It allows a player to keep their membership even if they don't meet the minimum number of events. But here's the catch. It's only been used twice in history. Once for Seve Ballesteros in 1986, once for Martin Kaymer in 2016. Rory might become the third, and he's not asking for it. He's daring them to make a decision. Rory wasn't just talking anymore. He was rewriting the rules of engagement. So what does all of this actually mean for you, the person watching this? This isn't just a fight between two powerful men. This is a fight about what golf becomes. Two completely different visions for the sport we love, and one of them is going to win. On one side, you have Brian Rolapp, the NFL guy, the businessman. He sees golf as a product to be optimized. Fewer events, higher stakes, more exclusivity. A system where only the best of the best get to play on the biggest stages. Efficiency over tradition, profits over history. On the other side, you have Rory McIlroy, the player, the competitor. He sees golf as something bigger than spreadsheets and TV deals. He sees tournaments like the Canadian Open, events that have been around for generations, events that matter to communities, to families, to fans who show up year after year. Rory is fighting for those tournaments. He's fighting for the players who aren't superstars, the ones grinding on the second tier, the ones who need those smaller events to make a living, to build a career, to chase a dream. Here's the scary part for fans. If Rolapp wins, some of your favorite tournaments might disappear. Not because they're bad events, but because they don't make the top tier. They get pushed down, forgotten, replaced by something shinier, something more profitable. Think about the Arnold Palmer Invitational. That tournament just got moved to a terrible date, right up against March Madness. And they lost their sponsor. Farmers Insurance walked away. No replacement has been named. One of the most historic events in golf is now struggling to survive. Think about the RBC Heritage. That tournament used to be the perfect warm-up after the Masters. Players loved that slot. Rory loved that slot. He used it to sharpen his game for the majors. Now it's been moved. His entire preparation routine is disrupted. Think about the Canadian Open. Rory specifically called it out. He said it doesn't belong in the second tier. But under Rolapp's plan, that's exactly where it's heading. These aren't hypothetical scenarios. They're happening right now. Tournaments are being moved. Sponsors are walking away. Players are losing their preferred schedules. All of this is connected to Rolapp's vision for 2028. And what about the players you love? Not just Rory. The mid-tier guys. The journeymen. The ones who fight every week to keep their card. In a two-tier system with promotion and relegation, their careers become a constant battle for survival. One bad season and they're out. No safety net. No second chances. This isn't hypothetical. This is happening right now. The schedule changes we're seeing this year, the tournaments being moved, the sponsors walking away, those are the first dominoes falling. The real shakeup comes in 2028. Rory McIlroy is standing up to all of it. He's risking his membership. He's risking his career, and he's asking every single player on tour to decide which side they're on. The clock is ticking toward 2028. So where does that leave us? Brian Rolapp has a vision, a two-tier tour with promotion and relegation, a system that looks more like European soccer than the golf we grew up watching. He believes it's the future. He believes it's necessary. Rory McIlroy disagrees. Loudly, publicly. He called the second tier a glorified Corn Ferry event. He said LIV created a false economy, and now that the threat is fading, the old ways weren't actually that bad. He's putting his own membership on the line to prove a point. This isn't just about one player and one CEO. This is about what golf becomes. Every fan who loves this sport has a stake in the outcome. The tournaments we watch, the players we cheer for, the traditions we've cherished for decades, all of it hangs in the balance. The schedule changes we're seeing right now, those are just the beginning. 2028 is when everything changes, and the battle between Rory and Rolapp is the first real fight in a war that's only just started. Here's the honest truth. Rory is fighting for something bigger than himself. He's fighting for the sport he grew up loving, the sport that made him who he is. And he's willing to sacrifice everything to protect it. Whether you agree with him or not, you have to respect that kind of conviction. What happens next depends on who wins this battle. Are you Team Rory or Team Rolapp? Drop your answer below and hit subscribe. 2028 is coming.